Hi everyone, it's me again, and Squish Gang is present. And today we are back with an update on Ye slash Kanye West because he went on, Lord help us all, no pun intended, maybe, Alex Jones's Infowars show thing. We have trigger warnings naturally for this for conspiracy and anti-Semitism because we also have Nick Fuentes on there. Yeah. Anyways, before we get into that, links, sources, Amazon, Patreon, ways to support the channel, including any affiliate links and discounts, all down below. Thank you to my patron besties. Names are on the screen right now. Bless your souls. I am forever grateful for you. In finding this interview, I found out that it was essentially banned from everywhere that I could possibly find it. Except for these like really weird video streaming websites. And I downloaded it from one of those. So we'll see if I'm hacked again in the next couple of days. In that, we're going to have to be a little bit careful with how we are taking the clips just because, you know, I can get banned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload it to Patreon first and I'm going to unlist, upload it and see what happens. And I might have to do a couple versions. We'll see how it goes. So just two parts of the video today because the interview was quite long. We're just going to quickly catch up to where we are now. That's part one. And part two will be discussing the actual interview itself. So allow us to get right into this. So if we're catching up, this is part one. So on October 31st, I released a video called The Recent Fall of Ye in parentheses Kanye West. So that will be linked down below if you want the full context of where everything kind of came from, my opinions on the events and the structures I think that were in place. When I recorded the video, Ye was still in mainstream media cycles to some extent, had just been on Piers Morgan's broadcast, had been on Tucker Carlson's Fox News broadcast. He had also done a couple of podcasts like Drink Champs and Lex Friedman. So those were the ones that he had just been on. And within like a day or two of recording, he had actually, or like before I had recorded, he had just been dropped from Adidas. Since that time, Kanye West slash Ye has affiliated himself with anti-Semite, grifter, white nationalist, incel Nick Fuentes.
So, as you know now, I've been speaking with Ye and working with him.
Who we just know from the looks of him doesn't wash his ass. For those of you who don't know who that is, for one, I envy you. For two, secondly, we've talked about him before on this channel. Unfortunately, he did an interview with Sneeko. Now, I didn't clip that interview into the Sneeko video because it was only on far-right media, and I wasn't as brave as I am right now, apparently. But yes, so I'll insert a little clip of me talking about Nick here. He did a stream with Nick Fuentes that got taken off the platform of YouTube, and I think contributed to a channel strike or two, if I remember correctly. So I had to find this on BitChute. Is that how you say it? Which is like an alt-right YouTube-y type deal, right? So it opens with them saying 9/11 was fake. So we're getting into some interesting topics here. They have no concept of logical analysis of things. They essentially will pick the most contrarian narrative, and if you do not follow such contrarian narrative, it's because you are eating from the spoons of billionaires. Despite supporting people like Donald Trump, who too is a billionaire who quote unquote opposes the billionaire class. Don't know how you oppose what you're in, but I digress. This is the same guy who talked about Third World Order with Sneeko, so we know that we're doing great things today, and that is sarcasm. Nick Fuentes, for short, is a sniffling, incel, anti-Semitic man-baby who made a career out of live streaming hate speech in his mommy's basement. Now, that aside, you're wondering, well, how could somebody like that be affiliated with one of the most famous people in the world? Yeah, that's how far things have to fall when you cannot stand any single opposition of opinion and any pushback on anything. And Nick Fuentes, his bag is about the size of a coin purse in his unsuccessful grift, so that he's willing to kiss Kanye's ass under any circumstance. Unlike a lot of these other right-wing grifters, such as Tim Pool, who he was on his podcast, or other people like, or like a Ben Shapiro or Candace Owens or whatever, Nick Fuentes can only go up from where he is, unlike the other people who could lose substantial brand deals, advertisements, and channel space, like on YouTube, for example. Nick Fuentes only has his hate posts on weird right-wing social medias and doesn't have the substantial revenue that a lot of the other people have, so there's like way less to lose. Because all he has is that weird little Mommy's Basement live stream America First show, or live stream / recorded videos, whatever. That's semantics to argue with that. But like Alex Jones and Ye, Nick Fuentes has also been banned from mainstream social media, because I think now that Kanye's Twitter account is lost again, I would say that's it for him. I think as far as mainstream social media goes, I might be wrong. I know there was something on Instagram, so actually I'll put that up if it was actually there. Because it's a bit confusing. He's been banned and unbanned on a lot of things a few times. Nick Fuentes and Ye met with Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago, where Ye had the gas, the ego, to propose that Donald Trump be his running mate for when he desires to run in 2024.
Everything that's in the news is about my dinner that I had with the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, as well as Ye, and some other people, some of my new friends. And so, as you know now, I've been speaking with Ye and working with him. And we went out to Mar-a-Lago in Florida this week, and we had a very interesting dinner, which I'm sure you've all read about.
So the guy who can't hold an Adidas deal because he can't shut his mouth proposed one of the most infamous presidents in U.S. history to be his running mate under him. I am not a Trumpy. I despise Trump, actually. But you have to acknowledge that the gall is still just unfathomable. Like, I'm just like, whoa. It's just so, like, it's also in Kanye's current state, or Ye's current state, right? Of like, no, bitchless, bagless, and senseless. To have that be your current position and then be like, oh, Trump, run under me, is just so wild. Ye also announced on Twitter prior to being banned that he desires to run for president 2024, as mentioned. And then just after the interview, which during the interview, he lets two banned people, Banevade, Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones, tweet on his account. But after that, he tweeted a picture of a swastika inside of a Star of David and other such hateful tweets, along with a tweet of a very unflattering picture of Elon Musk that Elon states is not the reason that Kanye got banned, but rather it was the hate speech, but we'll take with that what we may. And now we are caught up, because as of filming, Ye has yet to be in the confirmed Aiden Ross interview. And yes, Aiden Ross, my generation's beacon of intellect.
It means you are a far-right authorization on ultra-analyst, analyst, political ideology movement characterized by dictator leadership, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition. So I don't know what that means, bro. I swear to God. I don't know what the fuck a fascism is. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Part 2, we're going to get into the actual Alex Jones interview, because again, that was a long one. I like to a lot of media in this like kind of far right realm, such as like posts on Parler, America First, the Infowars show, and things of that nature. It was 3 hours of words that sound like sentences and tangents, but somehow nothing was said at the same time. This is because the state of these conversations, I find often, are just a bunch of selfish people who are just trying to self-serve, using platforms to attempt to have conversations where the conversations are just constant ploys of their own agendas. And I want to state too that many of the pro-Nazi and like pro-Hitler quotes that have been circling around on Twitter were within like the first 15-20 minutes. Things have devolved even further, because there's still 2.5 hours of content after that. The conversations, if I was to boil it down to give you like a Spark Notes type thing, is Ye saying that he doesn't hate entire groups and that he loves everyone, so that he can say that he loves, Germans from the mid-1930s.
Satan, that whether it's the Zionists, or Hitler. It's not the person, it's Satan using the people that
I agree with that.
are controlled by demonic forces. But what I'm going to say is the Jewish media has made us feel like the Nazis and Hitler have never offered anything of value to the world. Meanwhile, there's all of these things that are happening. Planned Parenthood is New World Order population eugenics that is happening to this date. I got some jokes here from Owen Benjamin that I want to read about Ben Shapiro. Hey, Candace Owens, unplug this robot before he runs his mouth.
But then makes a point to discredit Jewish people, the left, people from Instagram, people who do sex work, and people who are directly stated they're against his opinion. He talks shit about them for hours, right? While literally say, but I love everyone. And he keeps going, I love Jews, but I also love Nazis, which obviously doesn't make any sense, right? Because what he's doing is he's trying to play on both sides so that he can't be tied down to anything. I've said this before about a lot of creators of this nature, right? Is they'll often like contradict themselves or kind of put in like all of the answers to something just so that they can kind of default on whatever the correct position is for what narrative they're pushing at the time. Right, I made this reference when I made my Keemstar video where I said he talks like you're filling in a Scantron test where you fill in all of the answers because one of them has to be right. This is further what I mean when they're saying a lot but they're saying nothing, right? Because it's this constant cycle of contradictions where Kanye's obviously trying to promote his own agendas by discrediting those that he doesn't like while saying that it is him and Christ's duty to love all. The thing is, too, in a lot of ways that he positions, he describes it as the way that Christ acts, and Christ is the king, but then puts himself in those shoes a lot, which, to my recollection, to put yourself in the position of Christ is blasphemous. I might be wrong. The thing is I'm formerly French Catholic family, so it's like a bit different in like the way that you describe things. So take with that what you may. Please don't come for me.
Yeah, and I love Jesus, and I have to fight this war to make a better place for my children and for everyone else's children. I got to put myself, my accounts, my name at risk to stand in the front of this war that we have. This is Infowars, right? So we're going to give this information on Infowars.
So as I mentioned before too, the whole debacle was just obviously Ye being self-serving the entire time. And I have a bunch of points specifically that I may or may not put clips in just depending on like my mental state. When it comes to how much I want to edit in because it's really, really long. And sometimes my editor like gets overwhelmed when I have like 3-hour clips in that I have to cut down. Anyways, first, there is the discussion. This might not be necessarily in order because I was just I don't have time to listen to it a bunch of times because it's 3 hours long. There's discussion of everyone losing rights because his accounts were frozen. Right? Which is not even necessarily confirmed or denied because the argument was he had with a bank, Wells Fargo, I believe. And he kept being like, I hate all of you. Close my accounts. I don't like this bank. Media, Culta, all that stuff. And then they closed it. And then he's like, how dare you close my account? So if that's what he's referring, or if not, it's the Adidas account. But then that's because they've cut ties with him. So that's because of his own actions, right?
I don't have all of that information. I have the information that 2 days ago I thought I was going to be put in prison because my accounts are frozen.
So he's saying that like people are going to lose all of their rights because Ye's accounts were frozen. Right? Because something bad has happened to him, it's going to happen to everybody. The childish repetition of specifically against Ben Shapiro, which was that Ben Shapiro's mad at Kyrie because he wouldn't sign his basketball. The section where Ye got mad that his people liked his cousin's prayer more than his. Using Nick to fill in information, usually conspiratorial or anti-Semitic information, when he's trying to legitimize his hateful rhetoric. Kind of in a way to be like, well, somebody else said it. But at the same time, also having someone that he considers smart enough to have these conversations do it for him. And finally, keeps bringing things back to Instagram pornography, his ex-wife Kim Kardashian, or his hatred for Pete Davidson. So there's a lot of cycling things as a way of everyone's going to lose their rights and everybody is godless because of these actions that happen to him specifically that don't actually affect anybody else. So you see, like I said, it's this method of self-serving. That's all this is. It's all the media tour has been. The only problem is that when your self-serving nature is fueled by hateful rhetoric and is driven by the degradation of another group, that is when you're getting these problems. If he was just petty and whiny, which he has been for a decade probably at this point, that's one thing. But it's the fact that you're popularizing and putting into the mainstream hateful rhetoric that has been that has caused pain across generations over hundreds of years. That is the actual issue at hand here, of course. But then people are going to pick and choose and ignore it. However, a lot of the Kanye dick riders have really had to kind of subside because of the blatant Nazi rhetoric now, because they can't excuse it or be like, oh, there's a deeper nature to this or whatever, like they were before. Alex Jones, as people have mentioned before, and also like the Twitter and everything like that, keeps trying to actually just bring it back to like hating leftists, because that's his core audience and that's his agenda, right? It's just funny because then Nick brings it back to anti-Semitism, and then Ye brings it back to his own loss of wealth. And then there's like random Infowars people that come in, there's like this weird panel, and they have their own kind of nature. So there's this lady that calls in, Laura something, and I tried scrubbing to find her name, and then I couldn't find it when I looked it up. Again, when I usually am able to watch things more times, when it's 3 hours, it's a little bit more of a difficult time, especially because I'm in finals right now. But anyways, it brings her on. She talks about her accounts getting taken away and the cancel culture, and I'm a free speech absolutist. Everyone should be able to say what they want. Again, because she's been kicked under. It's going to become everybody's problem.
Right? That this is about free speech. This is about combating cancel culture and standing up against the censors and the cancel culture movement. Then I don't really want to talk to you. And this is more than just, somebody being Jewish, somebody being Christian. This is about the truth and fighting for free speech. So I just want to say that, I'm here to fight to make sure that Ye has a right to say what he wants to say, even as a Jewish woman, because free speech is greater than all of us. This is what we're fighting for together.
There's somebody whose like whole thing is like, oh, and then the left is euthanizing people with the trans doctors. So somebody comes in with their transphobic takes.
Well, I'll not give my whole plethora here. I'll save some of that time for the war room coming up in an hour so that Ali can speak too. But one quick thing, all these people out there saying, oh, Ye's lost his mind. Ye's lost his mind. Again, check yourselves. We are mutilating children and calling them trans kids and calling it gender-affirming surgery. No, Ye has not lost his mind. You have. We have men claiming they can get pregnant. No, Ye has not lost his mind. You have.
There's other people that are talking about Balenciaga. Alex Jones brings it up at one point as well as kind of this like trafficking cult ring. But then Kanye defends Balenciaga because Balenciaga has like made him a bag. So you can see that it's like constantly just a bunch of chickens clucking for their own wealth and own status, and they don't actually agree with each other on anything. What the point of free speech absolutism is just classic libertarianism and classic liberalism, which is the idea of every man for himself. But if you can't vouch for yourself publicly, that is the rights being taken away, even despite the fact that the vouching requires that you degrade and further marginalize entire groups of people, which is by nature not the way that you should do things, obviously. Again, I feel like I'm talking to like kindergartners when I'm describing these concepts. Not my audience, but in the sense that like it's so wild to me that they will try to sever those connections. Obviously, right now I'm talking to a camera lens, but you know what I mean. All this is to self-serve. And they will push down anybody they want to serve what they see fit. Nick Fuentes has literally said having intercourse with women is gay. Because he doesn't like gay people. He platforms and ideas that don't like homosexuals, but then can't get bitches. So he literally like has to, like, that's the mental gymnastics that these people do all of the time. And now what all has happened is they've just all found each other. And this is what they've done. Like I said, there's not even a consistent agenda when talking about Balenciaga and the recent advertisements they've had. Then towards the end, it's just full-on Holocaust denial. Kanye says that it is a obvious fact that not 6 million people didn't die, which a lot of these arguments tend to consist of, oh, they could not have used the chambers to kill 6 million people over the span of 5 years or whatever, ignoring obviously the fact that like people starved and died in the ghettos, people were shot and killed, people were poisoned, people, and then also the chambers, and also people dying of working too hard and disease in the camps. They always just kind of ignore a bunch of spans of metrics that could have also contributed to the number, ignoring the fact that like the numbers have been proven time and time again. But like that's the other thing that's always like confused me is like they always make the assumption that there's only one way to have done anything in their denial so that they can like fix the numbers. That's just a way of critical thinking, right? Is to always try to see if there's like multiple pieces. But again, I don't even want to contribute to the concept of like Holocaust denial anyway, because the Holocaust happened. Millions of people died, and we should not repeat any of the rhetoric or spew any of the rhetoric, because anti-Semitism has been a problem for hundreds of years, and further marginalizations of different people doesn't serve society in any constructive way. It ends with the following list of points. Some Nazis serve the country. Putin is for Christ. Love all, but Ye only admits to loving people who can serve his specific agenda. I'm saying that if Kanye or Ye or whatever whatever he wants to be called, if he loves everybody, he should say he loves Ben Shapiro, or he loves Pete Davidson, or he loves Wells Fargo, but he can't because he loves what serves him, not all, right? Not very Christ-like. Overall, this whole thing could be summarized to a self-serving circle jerk. That's what you missed on the Alex Jones broadcast. In conclusion, I hope this video could enlighten at least one person who might have been tied up in these kind of debates and the way that this interview went, and kind of just understand that it's all ulterior motive based and isn't to actually help anybody. Feel free to suggest content down below. There's an email for that if you wish. Links, sources, Amazon, Patreon, including affiliate links and ways to support the channel, all down below. Thank you again to my patrons. More content coming for December. Yeehaw, and I'll see y'all when I see y'all. Bye.
I made a video yesterday about me having a bidet, and ever since I've been getting all these sideways comments. People like, oh, hey Demetrius, why do you have a bidet? Why do you need your ass to be that clean? You know, those who clean expect guests. Are you expecting guests, Demetrius? Are you expecting guests in your ass? Precisely. I like weird alternative bitches who want to do weird alternative things to me. And when they go into my bathroom and they see that bidet, they feel a little bit more comfortable getting a little bit nastier. So kindly hop off my nuts. It's wild how y'all's homophobia takes place in the form of being anti-washing your ass. You stink booty bitches better leave me alone.